We are live. Let's go. Okay, guys. Before we start with our today's topic, our today topic is going to be coding with Spring and Spring Boot. Okay, so we are going to do live coding about it. Guys, is the voice clear? Are you able to hear everything? Is it all good? Please give a quick thumbs up. Okay, chalo, that check. Done. Let me stop this dancing support. Okay, let's get started, guys. So, team, our today's primary aim will be coding with Spring and Spring Boot. So to whatever extent, let's see, first of all, we will take a poll here. How many of you are confident with basics coding of Spring and Spring Boot? Okay. So let's try to understand, are you like fully just new to it, or do you have some knowledge? Let's say, where do you stand? Okay. In Spring and Spring Boot core coding. Okay, means you know how exactly it is. I am confident, I am aware, but not much practice, or let's say I am not aware much. Okay, so let's put ourselves into any of this category. So accordingly, we will get into how much deep we want or how up down thoda balance karenge. But anyways, even if you have not heard about it, no problem. We will go from that. But just to set the pace for today's session, taking this poll out. Okay. So we can see around 13 members are fully confident. That's good. And the remaining, still there is a big section which is into the lower two options. Okay. I think today's session is going to be useful for everyone. Okay. Even though you are very confident about Spring, there are certain aspects it should straight away come to your mind when you are doing debugging and coding. So we will go to it to the foundation level so that you're thinking about the framework changes today. Okay. So focus on that part. Your thinking should change. Spring, you should not look at it just as a framework, but you need to understand how it actually behaves so that you can debug it anytime any problem coming. So we will try to touch to that kind of foundational discussions today, and fully practical things will be happening. So really useful. Okay. Chalo, let's get started, guys. First of all, okay. Firstly, before we really start with this topic, I wanted to share two updates for each one of us. First update is something like this. From next week, Monday. Okay. So week 3 is going to start, and from Monday onwards next week. So we will be doing Monday to Friday, one more additional connect at morning 8:30 a.m. Okay, it is optional. So 10 a.m. sessions will continue as it is. So all the session topics will be done during 10 a.m. session itself. However, this morning 8:30 is a different meeting that we will do daily, which is called as a daily stand-up meeting. Every day when you are at work, every day in the morning, there will be a short meeting, generally around 15-20 minutes. And in that, we discuss what about the progress of the work that we are doing, what we did yesterday, what is the plan of today, and that kind of planning review actions will be happening. So from Monday, we will be getting started. So how to join that everything, I will share later in the WhatsApp group. Okay. So from 20 October, and it is going to continue throughout the entire 2 months. So by the time we are doing live, plus this will continue till the end of the full batch. So from 20 October, daily, Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. we will connect for 20 minutes. After that, our regular session is going to happen 10 a.m., which goes as regular. And then remaining day, you are supposed to work upon the tasks. And you need to end your day like a proper working professional, starting from here, working throughout the day and ending it. If you end it at 7:30 p.m., it boils down to 11 hours. Now, it's up to you. Some people might like to close at 7, which is still 10.5 hours. That is good. Some people might say, I want to complete at 6:30 or even 6:30. So the choice is yours. When do you want to end your day? But generally, know that IT companies will be working daily 9 to 10 hours. That is a very common practice. In that, during the day, you will take 1 hour of lunch. And since you are into job seeker right now, you are looking for getting into the corporate and getting started with projects and clients and billing and salaries. So I think you should definitely put long hours of work. Don't take it for granted. Okay, working professionals are doing 9 to 10 hours. Working professionals daily work for 9 to 10 hours. Now you need to get started, right? So at least I think 11 hours also is quite possible. And what to do as part of this? More and more clarity will come. Right now, in 8 days itself, we covered so many project topics. Like that, for getting the job, many other things are also required. Core, framework, communication, daily coding. So improvement in that is also going to take time. So it will not happen in like 1 week you become very great. It will need constant work for a few months. Then your knowledge and everything will start growing. And in order to put that constant work, you need to put yourself into a working schedule first of all. So from Monday, I will also be doing this with you daily morning, joining 8:30, so that we get a structure to our day. And please make sure during the day you are not behaving like students or jobless people anymore. Means no calls with your friends, no social media scrolling, no movies, no sleeping, no hanging out outside, no worrying that I'm not getting job. This itself is your job. To work daily 10 hours, and you have to do preparation and job hunting. Every other homework or whatever you might be having, try to finish it before 8:30 in the morning or after you have closed your day. The way working professional behaves, you need to behave like that. When people are in companies, they will not be watching movies and all these other things, right? They work. So you are also supposed to do the work. Remaining on weekend, you can plan your rest of the activities. If you want, nahi, someday during the day itself, it needs to be done. So maybe one day you can take a off. So operate like that as proper working professional window. So upgrade your mindset, upgrade your, it's just a thought process change. Do that, you will be more productive and getting better results. Okay, fine. So this is the first update. Now update number 2. Okay, this is also based upon, let's see how many of you will be able to make it up. We are trying to create one possibility here, that every Friday for 1 hour we will reserve for summary. Okay, so generally whenever we connect Monday to Friday 10 a.m. to 1 p.m, so on Friday, every Friday from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m, nothing but initially our 10 to 12 session is going to happen. So on that day we will continue our topic for 2 hours. Remaining 1 hour, okay, is going to be a revision topic which will be given by 2 of you guys. Okay, so the approach is going to be something like this. Okay, listen it out. It is going to be very interesting, and randomly we will be picking people. There is a process for that also. I will tell you shortly. This will really help every one of us to really grow pretty strongly. Okay, now what exactly is going to happen? First of all, let's say we are finishing week number 2 now, right? So when we are in week 3, day 5, nothing but Friday of week number 3, at that time, this much slot, people are supposed to, 2 of the members, 2 members are supposed to summarize the last week, nothing but week number 2. So please be aware, this is how the setup is. So it's not like current week itself you have to summarize. No, you are getting like around 1 week of time to prepare on all that week's topic, 2 of you people. And then next week when we connect on Friday, this hour we will reserve for these 2 members. Each member is going to get 30 minutes slot for explaining, and both of you guys can collaborate with each other, plan with each other how to summarize all of this week 2 topic within 1 hour. You will be in this live itself. You will be sharing your screen, putting your camera on, and loud and clear explaining it to all of us. If some things are not clear, I am going to ask you more questions, so that the way we do it in interview, if people are not answering proper, I will pinpoint these areas where some gap is there in your thinking, and I think that will be really useful. Okay, so yes, again, it's not by force. So I'm not going to force random people to just do that. It will be based upon your choice. Those who are interested to take yourself one level up, from them we will be choosing one of the member. Okay. The approach. So approach is also going to be something like this. Let's say, how will we choose the two people? It will be something like this. First, every week we are supposed to have one demo. So when the week number 2 completes, so you guys are supposed to submit your first demo. Okay. Now, all the members who have submitted demo, that is going to be criteria. Second criteria, I will be sharing a Google form, separate form, where if you are interested to become one of the two members, you submit your form for that week. Okay, saying I am interested. So these are the two conditions. First, you should complete the demo of the last week. Second, you should have said, okay, yes, I want to do that. I want to be a part of these two members who will come 30 minutes. I want to come and explain the last week topic. You should be willing to do that. Second, we will be considering your attendance and tasks. Nothing but dekho guys, those who are already doing things, they can do next level things. If a person is already struggling with initials itself, how can they advance to the next level? That is where you need to understand, every one of you joined at the same time at the beginning, but by the end of 2 months, you will not all be at the same pace. Some people will be 100% attendance, some might still be 40% attendance. And some might not have watched the sessions also, not completed tasks also. That's what happens. People join the company and after 3 years, some are promoted, some are still stuck at the beginning because they did not do the right things. So those who are doing the right things, this opportunity is for only those people. So I will be looking at your tasks, attendance, whether you are interested. I will check on this demo. All this activity I will be completing next week when the week 3 is going on. By around Tuesday, I will finish this. So I will check on your past related all these things. And then by Tuesday, I will look into this data and finalize 2 members. Okay. So till the time, so anybody's name could be there. So I will finalize 2 members and announce it on Tuesday. So those 2 people will get enough chance, like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, they will get 3 days to actually prepare also. So you can start your preparation right from weekend or Monday, because anybody can get that. Those who are marking this interest, and I will consider this attendance also around 70%. Okay, we will not make it very tight like 90%, because sometimes even with a 70%, the people should have that opportunity. But going forward, try to be consistent, right? Fine. So you will get Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday to prepare, and then Friday you can have your presentation in front of everybody and try to explain it really nice. So these are the 2 things we are planning, and which will be effective right from the next week onwards. So I'm constantly thinking about, okay, what more can be done so that you can go to the next level other than 10 to 1 topic. These are additional things, and let's see how things happen. Future more collaboration activities also we can plan, but everything is step by step. You guys should be willing to do it, then only it makes sense to do it. And so make it happen, push yourself. I will also try to further improve things, and then results can be further better. Okay, chalo guys, are we clear with this? Are we clear with this, guys? Last week ka topic hai, so you get enough time to prepare also. Your identification will also happen early. Everybody who is interested can prepare, and let's see. So any 2 people can present, and then next week, next 2 guys will be getting chance. So by this way, every week this activity will happen till the end of 7 live weeks. Okay, good. Let's start with today's topic. Okay, very important topic today. And like we can see, 18 members are saying that we are confident about Spring Boot, and there are still 42 members, okay, who are saying ki thoda sa up and down hai. So chalo, let's understand and let's gain strong foundational knowledge practically. Okay, so first of all, when it comes to Spring and Spring Boot, what do we know about this in the week 1 discussion? Let's try to recap important things. Let's go to the drawing board. Okay, let's start fresh. Okay, first of all, we are building a web application, something which runs on internet, which is accessible via a web. So we are trying to build a web application. Currently, when we start with our programming knowledge, we start with simple core Java. We know core Java, how to write Java class, how to write Java method, extend something, interface, polymorphism, abstraction, variables, and everything. We know basic core Java. We know some how to write logic also, if, else, is this, that. Some basic we have learned, even making database calls and all that. But now our aim is we need to take this knowledge and make it a web application so that other people from internet can access it. So how to make that thing possible in Java related world? So one core mechanism which came into picture was servlets and JSPs. Servlets, JSPs. So you can make a web application using these technologies. These are plain traditional technologies. Still at the core, this is still the foundational technologies which are utilized even by our frameworks that we use, right? So servlets and JSPs. So this is wrapper which uses core Java and used for making web application. Again, this is going to give you some jars. So if you want to work it in the project, you will need to work with these jars, add to the class part, develop some servlets, JSPs, and you can make a web application. What does a web application mean? The functionality which you have written, it can be called by other people from web, from internet. Okay, fine. But working, these are called as working with core technologies. Servlet JSPs, we can call it as core technologies. Using that, you can make web application, but again, lot of additional coding, maintenance, and pain was there. And that is where we need upgrade, and that upgrade is nothing but frameworks. So most of the time, these frameworks, they are written on top of these core technologies. Okay, I'm not saying always, but most of the times, frameworks will be written on top of these core technologies. So especially in case of building a web application, whenever we are using our current project also for making any API calls, right? Whatever we wrote it in the week number 1, add controller, addition controller, and everything. This is built on top of core internal servlets mechanism itself. How exactly that happens? Today you will get some clarity about that practically when we are doing things. Okay, fine. So on top of this core technology, there are some frameworks available in the market, and that is where we can put one big name of the framework, let's say Spring itself. Now, Spring is a very vast framework. We already know that different kind of projects can be developed, and it has provided different modules. You can use those modules to develop different projects. This we already know about Spring. Spring has multiple projects and modules. For building different types of projects, you would use different project and modules given by Spring. So it's very vast. It's very vast. Okay, fine. So one of the key aspect of Spring is nothing but the core framework design itself. Okay, core framework design. Some core features, how Spring basically operates. So that concept is there. Plus, it was developed then internally. It uses servlet JSPs, and you can use it to build any web application. Okay, and this happened long time ago, like more than 20 years old now. It's not recent. Spring came like 2023, I think. Okay, like 2003. And what time se fir something is going on in the framework world. Anyways, it came. It was built on top of core technologies. It was doing really good. And then people, the human mentality is always to improve. And further, they realized there is a scope of improvement in this core Spring framework. And that is where emerged SpringBoot. Okay. So what they did in SpringBoot is They took the core Spring framework, whatever they designed. So they did not develop Spring Boot from scratch. They extended it. Okay, so Spring is that powerful framework. In that powerful framework, they have some core concepts, core features about how Spring framework works. What Spring team did, they took this core framework and they enhanced it and prepared a Spring Boot application, and whose primary aim, yes, it is also a framework itself, but the primary aim here is rapid application development. Spring Boot is further extension framework, which is nothing but extension of Spring framework, and the primary purpose is rapid application development. Okay, that we need to get clarity upon. Now, what does this mean? Sometimes students, they feel, if, and nowadays everybody is using Spring Boot itself in the project, and this is not something new. This is also came like many years ago. I think now around 7-8 years ago, Spring Boot also came. Nowadays it is becoming a default, but this is there in the market since long time. Okay, so these concepts, yesterday we realized, right? Microservice, 2014 it was introduced, right? Now it's like what, 11 years. Spring Boot also came many years ago, but now it is becoming a default way of working of industry. So we need to understand what these things are. Okay, fine. So some students or beginners, they get this kind of doubt. If everything is Spring Boot only, why I should spend my time learning Spring? Is it really required to learn Spring? Is it really required to learn Servlet JSP? देखो guys, bare minimum you should definitely know. I'm not expecting that you should know everything about Servlet. There are a lot of details about it. But if something is very old, why do you spend time to become master in those many things which is being used internally? You will not be working directly with Servlet JSP. Then why are you spending time in learning that too much? Basic knowledge is required. You should not, it should not be a black box to you. So gain that basic knowledge, okay, how this actually works. It is good enough. You don't need to be an expert into this, because industry is not using this directly. It is used internally. So when you use Spring Boot internally works with Spring and uses Servlet to achieve your web application. So you don't have to become a master in servlets, but basic knowledge should be there, just so that you can have some understanding of the real world. Okay. Now, similarly, please understand this. People thinking, okay, can I skip Spring and directly learn Spring Boot? Honestly speaking, it is practically not possible. It is as if you are asking a question. I don't know ABCD, but I want to write big paragraphs. Not possible. Okay, it's not possible. You don't even know what is ABCD. How can you write big paragraphs? So that foundational knowledge of Spring is ABCD. You need to first understand what is that. You need to understand how the words are formed, ABCD, how then become words. You need to understand basic grammar. All that part will come here, and then you can build a Spring Boot, which is nothing but writing, let's say, big paragraph. So without this basic, you cannot do this, because even if you try to do it, it will all talk about the core things which is used. Okay, and for coding, this is essential. So don't think it is only theoretical knowledge of Spring. No, practical coding knowledge of Spring is required, and then comes advanced features of Spring Boot. And it is not very complex, guys. Few features are there, very interesting features are there. 2-3 powerful features are there, and that itself has shaken the entire Java community. Okay, use Spring Boot. Some powerful features they have launched. Few. It's not like a tool with 100 features. No, very few, 5-10 features, but they are extremely powerful. Okay, and now you will start understanding as part of today and tomorrow. We will understand on these areas. But the first conclusion you should understand is we need to understand core Spring framework, coding wise, practically, because Spring Boot is working with that, and it is needed for day-to-day coding also. So you cannot skip this. It is needed for daily coding also in Spring Boot applications. So we need to understand that. Okay, so we need to understand core Spring framework. Primary 2 reasons. Okay, needed on daily basis in coding, even for Spring Boot application. Okay, even for Spring Boot application. So that is how we have to understand it. That's like ABCD. Once you understand ABCD, after that you go for your paragraph writing. So direct ABCD bine, right? Words, grammar, and then you can go to paragraph. So Spring Core is going to take you there. Okay. Now let's understand what is this core concept of Spring, which is really interesting, and that is how the framework is really powerful. What Spring teamed is, and guys, there are not many concepts. एक ही है. There is only one, and everything else is built around that. So what is that core power of framework Spring? Okay, and that power is IOC. That's it. If you understand this, everything else revolves around this, but the basic concept is IOC. That's at the heart of Spring framework. What is IOC? Inversion of control. That's it. If you understand this, entire framework is easy for you. Okay, that's how simple it is. So you just need the right direction. You don't need to then spend like months and months to master framework. You can get started in a weekend and put it into your resume and go for interview also with the core concepts. After attending today's and tomorrow's session, almost basic foundation will be ready. Around 70% clarity will be there, and you can start attending all the basic questions during interview. Furthermore, other concepts will be there which you can further explore, but you will be ready to discuss framework in interview just based upon today and tomorrow coding topic itself. Okay, and that's how simple it is, right? But effort मारना पड़ता है, right? So put efforts. So what is this basic concept? Inversion of control. Okay, what basically it says? Inversion of control means revert the control. So what exactly? In regular core Java programming, when you are doing, okay, the object creation and maintenance is developer responsibility. Okay, so the object creation, object maintenance is developer responsibility. Okay, what does this creation and maintenance mean? Okay, let's say you have your class, my class, obj. Then you will use something like new operator of my class, and then you will call some method obj.method2, and let's say you are opening some connections as part of this. So maybe in finalize you have to close your connections. Okay, you have to close connections, db, any kind of cleanup that you want to do. So you need to nullify some references so that garbage collector can work. Okay, you don't keep open references in your memory for a long time. So all this basically object creation and maintenance. So traditionally, many years ago, not now, before the framework was very much adapted, Java developers were doing all this work by themselves. Okay, and then what happened is people started facing a lot of problems. The main problem was memory leak, memory pile up. Okay, applications getting stuck. This is a very big blunder. What is applications getting stuck? Okay, let's say the developer created object and some exception came, and some of the developer did not release some memory for that object, or a DB connection or an external file connection. So when exception is happening, no proper handling. So what will happen? If one thread is running, this kind of problem happens, and due to unexpected behavior, developers did not do proper handling, such objects does not get cleaned up by your garbage collector. And if they are occupying some IO resources, like you want to write something to the file or to external system, so then you are further occupying some IO resources also. It becomes heavy. And if more like this code happens, slowly you can imagine in your memory, more and more objects will start piling up. Garbage collector becomes like not able to clean it up. And that leads to a very big problem. How much size you allocate to the services, eventually everything will become full. And if there is no memory, further objects cannot be created and system basically crashes. And this is very basic. Okay, program itself is not running. So functionality is there, everything is there, But because objects are not managed properly, so systems started failing. And people realized this very soon. Okay, this is a very core problem. Okay, developers are not taking care of objects properly. And that is where the core existence of this framework came in picture, where they say, okay, IOC, which is inversion of control. What basically this means is control is inverted. Control is taken away from the developer and given to the framework. That is IOC. Control is taken away from the developer, given to the framework. That basically means framework creates and manages objects for you. Developer does not do it. That is inversion of control. Control is inverted, nothing but taken away from developer, because the past history developers, ancient developers, okay, caveman developers, they really caused problems. And then the world realized it, and they then designed framework which takes away that responsibility from the developer, so that framework takes care of this in the best possible manner. And this was the core breakthrough which actually started making Spring further more popular in the market. And not just Spring, many other frameworks have been then built around similar kind of concepts and understanding. So this is the basic thing. Inversion of control. Take away the control from the developer and give it to the framework, so that now framework is going to create and manage objects for you. Developer do not have to do it. And now it will be taking care of it, everything internally. You don't have to worry about how the objects are being created. Just imagine, developer has written this method, new operator. Okay, when 1,000 requests are coming, developer is creating 1,000 objects. Spring is like, bhai pagal hai kya? 1,000 objects, why are you creating? You need to call one method, create only one object, use a singleton. Developer is not understanding that. He says, no, I know, new operator, I'm creating. And that is where very much problem started happening. So after a lot of pain, they concluded, okay, let's take away the control, and that is inversion of control. So developers should not create and manage objects. Spring is going to do it. And that is the core foundation around which the full framework started maintaining. Okay. Now, how did Spring implement this? That's the second question. How did IOC, okay, how is IOC implemented in Spring? This knowledge is again required from coding perspective also. So just imagine, IOC, you can say the core concept of Spring, which helps to achieve IOC, is called as container. Okay, there is something called as a container. Container. People might call it as IOC container, or people might call it as Spring container. Okay, nothing but in order to Spring, okay, create and manage object, it uses container. Okay, so what is a container? Container. Spring uses container to create and manage objects. Okay, what does it mean? Now let's take an example, guys. This is where important understanding is required, because coding wise you will be doing this work. Okay, let's say this everything is your Spring Boot application. This big space is your Spring Boot application. Okay, inside that there is a section, let's say in memory, which is nothing but container. Spring is going to create and manage the objects here. And this entire stuff is your Spring Boot application memory. Okay, now just imagine you have written a Java class. For example, in our code, we have written some Java class. What is the name? Add service. Okay, this is the add service class that we have. Let's say whenever you create an object of add service, the way we have done it here, week 1 code itself, I'm referring, nothing new. So in the week number 1, we created a controller, we created a service. We created the object, nothing but we took the control. Now this is not inversion of control. So we did it. So that is wrong. Spring doesn't encourage to do it like this. So the solution we will discuss today. Okay. So, but try to understand, when this line number 27 happens, one object is going to be allocated in your memory of add service. And that object, since you are creating it, it is going to be not inside the container space, it is going to be here. That means we can build a project where Spring is also managing objects, plus you are also managing objects. So Spring says, okay, yeah, let me do it because I know the expert, I am expert into this. I have had a lot of knowledge about it. I know when to give you object, when to allocate memory, when to clean up, when to release. So Spring is encouraging that. But still, if developer says, no, I will create my own object, fine. It doesn't break the application. It works the way it worked here. But again, try to imagine when thousands of requests will run this method, thousands of objects are created, and then you are keeping garbage collector also busy, your code is also busy, memory is also piling up, thousands of objects here. So which is all very much drama, and system becomes then very busy in managing all these things itself. So optimization is required. That is where IOC came into picture. But please understand, so when you are using something like this, developer is creating it, the object goes here. But when Spring creates it, the object is going to be here. So you can imagine, visualize it in the memory space of your Spring Boot application. There will be some kind of access space, which is container access space, and Spring container will be having control to create an object there and to destroy the object there, do some initializations, put some configurations. Spring is going to do that. Okay, so let's write down a conclusion of this. When you create an object using new operator, okay, then Spring is not managing it. You are managing. So don't expect Spring to do wonderful things for you, because you have created. Spring says you take care of your object. Okay, but when Spring manages, okay, then Spring does a lot of things. Take this simple example. You need to understand one simple example. Okay, let's go back. Coding wise samajhte. I'm starting the Spring Boot application. Week 1 code itself, guys. Right click, run as, build. Let's say clean spring-boot:run. Let's run it. Understand all these basics with thorough attention. Even if you know Spring Boot, does not matter. Go from the basic and understand with memory, screenshots, visualization. Once you get this thing now, you will be able to solve any Spring Boot problem. Okay, go in the right direction. Don't try to learn it mechanically. Okay, this annotation for this purpose. No. Those things all come later once you understand why this thing is happening in this manner. So let's say we started a Spring Boot application. In the week number 1, what we did, guys? We have some property file. From the property file, we defined environment specific property file profiles concept in the week 1. Just observe. In application-local, we created a name called as my.key. Week 1 code itself. So I'm not explaining it all through again. Here we defined it. The name is coming like this. And in our controller, we said use a @value annotation. So the value is from the property file will be coming here. Based upon the profile, it picks up local, assigns the value here. And we created another method, post construct. And then we printed the value, read value from the property file, and just see it is printed. And in the week number 1 itself, we discussed whenever your object is created, after that, this method is going to be called. So in this example, what has happened in week 1 code, what we can draw conclusion, addition controller, okay, is provided with values of, observe this one, and after that even this post constructor method was called. These two things happened. Okay, now let's do some experiment. I will take these two things, okay, from this place @value, put it inside service. Okay, put it inside service. Okay, compilation wise, no problem. Okay, fine. Let's take this controller, put it inside this method also, put it inside @service. Now, let's think together what is going to happen. We make this change, we save it. DevTool dependency is running, application started. Okay, fine. One statement is printed, which is addition controller ka statement. Now, let's try to read it here. This is coming from service. And let's this come from controller. Let's just save this. Okay, try to understand. Even after we saved, every single time the value is not written here, means post construct of @service is not called, because you did not give this object to Spring. So Spring is not taking care of you. Now let's observe this another thing. We did @value, and now let's say here you print this @value log, you print that key. Okay, you print this key, you save it, you print the key, save it, and then call from postman. Okay, everything is executing, but let's observe behind the screen, the service value read, key is null. So you need to understand, when you are creating and managing object, Spring doesn't give you anything, because Spring is not in control. You are in control. So how can your @value annotation work? You need to understand the basic concept. This object of @service is not created by Spring, so it does not have this, and it is not doing any other drama also. Right? Please make a note of this. Okay? And observe the second point also, guys, here. When you created using manual new operator, when you created line number 27, at least after that, we can expect this post construct will be called, but still that, okay, let's see, service value here. 1 second, we will be testing it here. Service value, we will say initiate, and we will say service method init called, service init called. This we will put here, and here we will print the value. Okay, and in the addition controller, we will say controller is called. So basically both the loggers were same, so we cannot really draw any conclusions. So we will use different logger. So post construct, we will use a different logger. Here we will use a different logger. Okay, so chalo, let's do some testing again. Initially making changes, saving. Let SpringBoot come up. Here is SpringBoot. During the startup, only controller init method is called. Service init method is not called. Okay, fine. Now, when you are executing it, okay, this is executed. That's fine. Let's come back to the logs. Let's see what has happened this time. Okay, just observe. When executing the logs, first it went to controller. After that, it came to @service, because you created this @service. Then you called this add numbers, and then it came here inside @service. Then it printed this value. It printed the value. It returned. So my key is still null. So Spring did not provide it. It's still null. And observe the second thing. This init method is never called anywhere. So that means object creation, initialization. When you are managing the object, Spring is not managing it for you. So sometimes juniors are like, I am doing at the rate value. Why the data is not coming? Conceptually, you don't have clarity about what exactly is happening. That is where you're not able to debug the framework. Your problem here is you created the object. How do you expect Spring to give value to your created object? It does not work like that. Spring can give the value here only when Spring has created object. For example, addition controller is created and managed by Spring. How it is done, we need to understand. But for now, just know this, addition controller is created and managed by Spring. So when Spring is creating this object, Spring can read from the property file and it can assign the value here. When object is created, it can call the post construct method. That is what is creating, managing, and even destruction. It can release the memory once the object is done also. So it will take care of all those things. Next, whenever we went to Postman and we are calling this request, based upon this incoming, this method should be invoked. Spring is managing addition controller. That is where Spring is able to call this method. Understand the basics here. How can Spring call our methods? Because Spring is managing it. So based upon our current situation, what we can understand is addition controller object is managed by Spring and add service object is managed by us. This is the current scenario. This is managed by Spring. And because Spring is managing it, at the rate value is working, post construct is working. This is managed by you, so everything is gone for toss. Okay, fine. Now comes the next question. Let's understand one by one. When you manage the objects, okay, let's say creation and management. When you manage the objects, okay, means you create and work with it, then Spring will not be able to do object management. Nothing but at the rate value will not work, post construct will not work. You need to understand because you are doing it. Okay, so Spring is not in control of this object, so it does not do anything. Okay, very good. Now comes the question, how to make Spring to take control of this? Okay, interesting question. How to make Spring to take control of this add service object? Okay, fine. Let's understand. Simple. Spring has given a lot of annotations for doing this. Nothing but in your core Java also, you might have worked with @override annotation, right? Simple. Everybody works with @override in the beginning itself when object child parent is happening. So override is what? Superclass method. You are overriding in child class method. You tell it like this. Accordingly, your system understands, okay, this is an overridden method. Means when you use an annotation, behind the screen, some logic is there and that will put a additional behavior. That is how you should understand annotation. When you use annotation, it gives additional behavior, and for that behavior, logic is written internally in some jar file. Okay, so when you use any annotation, some jar file is having code for that annotation. Okay, and this code will give special behavior. Okay, very good. This code will give special behavior. Like this, Spring has provided many annotations. We can use that and start working with Spring system more closely. Okay, now the primary annotation which Spring provides, the primary annotation for putting object in control of Spring, the primary annotation is @component. at the rate component annotation. So you can simply write an at the rate component on your ad service and Spring will start taking care of it. It is that simple. So this is one way. Like this, many annotations are there. One by one, we will understand. Okay. Chalo, let's start one by one. So guys, are we clear with this so far? Please give a quick thumbs up. Guys, are we clear with this? Whatever we discussed so far, are we clear with this? One by one, let's just go into the topic. Maza aega. It is really interesting. And for those who are not aware, this is the first time. That is really awesome. You're knowing how the framework internally thinks. Once you become a friend of framework, debugging will become easy. Chalo, let's go, guys. Let's go. So here we go. So first we go here, framework level. How do you make Spring to take care of your object? Okay, at the rate component annotation. So let's say right now we go to this ad service, and on this ad service we add this at the rate component annotation. Control Shift O. Okay, now save it. Just observe what is happening. Just observe what is happening. As soon as we added at the rate component annotation, the init method service init called means Spring started taking care of object. Okay, just observe. As soon as we added this and saved, this happened. So I am again commenting this out. So DevTool started. We don't see that log service init called. It's not there. When we put at the rate component, let's see, it is coming. We can further verify. Let's write a constructor. Add service, constructor called. Okay, save. Just observe. First constructor is called, init method called. What have we changed in the code? We added at the rate component. Now, if we comment this thing out, it's not happening. Means, what is the primary way a Spring can start managing our objects is simply use at the rate component annotation. Okay, so let's say this is happening at the rate component annotation. Okay, now let's do one more thing here. When this object is there in core Java, you would have learned something called as reference this, right? In core Java, there is something called as this, which prints this current object, right? This operator. Let's try to print this. This is coming, okay, like this reference, right? So on service startup, this reference came. Now, let's not change anything in the code. As it is, only component is added, means service object is created by Spring. We can confirm that here. Now, what we will do is, we will go to the postman and call the request. Let's just call the request. After that, we will try to analyze what is happening. Okay. Notice here, guys. This lines came after we called from postman. And what it is saying, again, it called constructor with creating another object. This object is created by service, by Spring. This object is created by Spring. This object is created by us. Notice, a lot of times juniors don't get this. They just work with annotations. But you need to understand now what has happened in the code. In the code, we did two things. One is you're talking to the framework now. You told the framework, you create the object. Accordingly, framework said, okay, I will create it. And then when the service was starting, framework created this object, and this is that object reference. And now the next thing comes. What is that next thing? It basically goes, when you call, it is again creating. Why is it again creating? Because now in the code, you are also creating it. So what does this mean? Developers can make mistakes. Even though frameworks are creating objects, if developers don't think properly, you will end up creating your own objects, and the entire purpose of IOC you will be losing. Simple. Not to write this new operator here needs maturity. You should understand, oh, I am not supposed to create this. I am supposed to use this one only. Okay, if I do this, how much you are damaging the system, you need to have that awareness, not just use this annotation, right? So please understand the behind the screen concept, what the current code has done. Okay, we are doing two things. We added this. Let's analyze the current code. We added like this component class like this. Very good. Second thing, what we did, we even in our controller, when making the call, we did like this. So can you try to put this into memory diagram? How does it look like? Can you put it into memory diagram? One object will be created by Spring. Another object will be created by us. So if you put this into memory, one object is now created inside container by Spring. This is add service. And when you called it, one object is created here. How we can refer it more precisely from the logs, when you called it, this object is created. So we can say this hash code is this one. And when Spring basically started, it created this one. So are you able to visualize? Same Java class, if you don't think about how the objects are managing, you end up doing this drama. And if you call this request again, third object is going to be created. Just be aware of that. Your simple silly mistake and lack of awareness will cause damage in your projects. Okay, now we call one more time. Now what happens? Another third object is created in the memory. So even though IOC is there and all these concepts are there, still the developer is doing whatever they feel like, creating on keeping objects, and such kind of projects will again go through some nightmare where you don't know when you should do what you should do. So the basic expectation is, for all your core important classes, you need to let Spring take care of those things. You are not supposed to create it. That is the basic thing you have to understand. For all important classes of your project, you let the Spring create and manage objects. You are not supposed to do it. If you do it, this is the problem. Please understand. Okay, guys, this is a core thing. If you understand this, rest of the things are easy. Could you please mark a poll here, guys? Please mark a poll here. Where is our poll? Let's go. Here is the poll. And do this. Start a poll. Okay. Please share your understanding. Score 5, 4, 3, 2. Okay, guys, please mark this. Please mark this poll, everyone. Whatever we discussed so far. Still, there are a lot of topics to be done. This topic we will keep repeating. We will keep repeating it. Okay. Very good. 5s and 4s. That's awesome. Okay. Chalo, let's continue. So Abhi, now what has happened? We have to discuss a lot of things. What has happened? Spring created, we also created. Now there is another concept here. When Spring is creating and managing objects, those objects are called as Spring Beans. So you need to be aware. During interview time, this is going to be referred. Multiple other places, this is going to be referred. So the concept of Spring Bean. Okay, when Spring is creating and managing objects, that is called as a Spring Bean. Okay, fine. Now, next question. So we used one of the annotation called as @component, which made it like this. Now let's understand, how did this addition controller became part of this Spring container? Okay, because it is already there, Spring is able to call it. Let's understand. Next point is, how is addition controller part of the container? Okay, that we need to now understand. Okay, fine. Now let's go to the addition controller. And what do we see in addition controller? This addition controller is annotated with something called as a REST controller. That means maybe REST controller is also putting the object inside container. Okay. So REST controller is also putting inside container. Now let's get inside the code of REST controller. F3. REST controller is nothing but further a controller, @controller. Okay, so there is a chain. Observe. If you use REST controller, internally REST controller is extending a regular @controller. And if you go inside controller, observe, it is extending the behavior of @component. That is what the primary annotation is, component annotation. If you use component annotation directly or indirectly, Spring is going to create and manage your object. Let's understand it once more, what has happened here. When you wrote a controller, for making a REST API, we need to use REST controller. We need to discuss separate topic, complete 2-3 hours, how to do coding inside REST controller, how to write your REST API. Some other day we will do that discussion. But please observe, in order to build a REST API, this code came from ChatGPT in the week 1. We used REST controller. REST controller is nothing but a controller. And a controller is nothing but a component. That means directly or indirectly, if it is component, means Spring is going to start creating and managing object for us. That clarity we should have. Okay, so what does this mean? If you want to put it into diagram, how will Spring take care of this? First, it has to be @component. If you use directly @component, okay, fine, Spring takes care of it. Another path is, if you use @controller. If you use @controller, then also Spring is going to make it a Spring Bean. Even if you use @controller, in earlier MVC applications, we worked with @controller. To develop REST APIs, we are working with REST controller. So please be aware of this. If you use anything, this one, or this one, in all the cases, Spring is going to create and manage the objects for you. This is one part of things. And these are not just these. There are several other annotations which is directly extending the behavior of @component. Some of those annotations are @service annotation. Some of those annotations are @repository annotation. These are standard ones. There is something called as @configuration annotation. That is also a child of this. And these are all required on a regular basis when you do your coding. There is some other annotation called as what? Controller advice. Controller advice annotation. Just see, controller advice is also nothing but reaching to a component itself. So there is another one called as @controller advice annotation. Every annotation, what is an annotation? It gives a special behavior. There is something else called as REST controller advice. REST controller advice. These are all inside in the jars which are there in the class path given by the framework. If you use this, how do you define an annotation? @interface. That is the code of defining and creating your own annotation. When you use @interface keyword, then you are creating basically annotations. Just observe, REST controller is extending REST controller advice is extending controller advice, which is further extending component. So this is another chain. So on regularly coding the projects, you will be using these are commonly used annotations. So that means, and there are several others also, at least we need to focus on regularly used ones. So guys, what is our understanding here? Spring is going to start taking care of your objects. If you use component directly or indirectly. Means if you use service, then also it becomes a Spring Bean. This also makes it Spring Bean. This also makes it Spring Bean. This also, this also, this also, this also. And these are all commonly used annotations which will make it a Spring Bean. And in different scenarios, we are supposed to use different annotations. Okay. So let's try to understand that. Okay. Let's try to understand that. Spring framework. All these are core Spring related concepts itself. It's not Spring Boot concepts. These are core Spring related concepts itself. Spring framework provides core annotations to use, which will, okay, make objects as Spring Bean. Means objects will be created and managed by Spring system. What are these objects? Okay, directly or indirectly, it should extend @component annotation. And what are the list? How do you make Spring Beans? Which annotations to make Spring Bean? Okay, first one you can use component. Second one you can use @service. Third one you can use @repository. Fourth one @controller. Fifth one @REST controller. Sixth one @controller advice. Controller advice. Seventh one controller REST controller advice. And next one we can say @configuration. And every annotation has a different purpose. Okay. Now, another thing you need to understand about annotations. Annotations can be applied at different places. Annotations can be applied at different places. What does that mean? In this code, again, some beginners might be there not knowing about annotations. That is why just touching this topic. Annotations here, if we use, means we are using it at class level. Here, if we use, you are basically applying it at a particular method. So like this, annotations can be used on constructors, on variables, on methods at different places. So whoever has created the annotation, they will define a target where it can be used. So @target defines where this annotation can be used. And just observe, okay, if you go to this type, so these are multiple types of where annotations can be utilized. It can be field, method, parameters, constructors, local variables. So different types are there. Accordingly, they can define where the annotation should be available. Okay, fine. So similarly, you go to add controller. So just be aware, again, This is applied on a variable. This is applied on a method. So annotations can be applied at different places: class level, variable level, method level. Wherever it is applied, it gives a special behavior. This much you need to understand. What is the special behavior of value? Okay, read the value from property file and assign it here. What is the special behavior of post mapping? Whenever a post request comes, which maps to /API/add, call this. What is this? Whenever a REST API comes, then call this. What is this? Whenever @log SLF4j is there, log object should be created, right? So every annotation has a special behavior. So we already have some examples. Post construct annotation, special behavior. When the object is created, then run this method, post construct. So every annotation has certain behavior. Now we are saying there are more number of annotations. What is the behavior? When should we use these annotations? Okay, next, let's understand that. Service means whenever you are writing any core business logic, you will use it @service annotation. Whenever core business logic you're writing, service annotation. Repository, whenever you're writing any database related annotation, you will be using repository here. Okay. Controller, this was used when you are directly working with Spring MVC style applications. Okay. But since we are doing REST API, or so we need to just work with here while developing REST APIs. Similarly, this one is for exception handling in Spring MVC applications. REST controller advice is exception handling in your REST related REST API world. @configuration, it is a special type of annotation, okay, used to create new Spring Beans. For now, let's not understand this. We will understand that when the need comes. But for now, let's just spend some time in understanding these. If you want Spring to create and manage object, just go on that class and define these things. Automatically, Spring is going to create that object, manage that object. Every of this annotation is supposed to be used in a different requirement. If you're writing business logic, you use like this. If you're writing database, you use like this. You're writing controller, you use REST controller like this. You're writing exception handling, you can use these ones. This is also special purpose when you're creating your own beans. Why this is required, we will discuss. But yes, we can use it like this. Now, let's say some logic you are not able to identify where I should put. You want to make it a Spring Bean, but you're not able to categorize your logic. In that case, make it a component. So component is a generic placeholder. So if you are not able to fit your class in any of these styles, you can use @component, which is a generic way of making a Spring Bean. Please understand that. So depending on requirements, okay, depending on your requirements, you can use above annotations to make your Java class object as a Spring Bean. Okay. So in case you are not able to categorize the object, then simply use @component annotation. That is what it is. Okay, simple. This is how we can get through. Fine. And now let's observe, because in our current diagram, memory wala diagram, this addition controller is having @REST controller. So it is already able to be managed by Spring. Okay, that is the first part. Okay, now comes next topic. So when, let's say, addition controller wants to call add service, currently in the code, we have done this. Now we are saying, oh, you should not create it. You should ask Spring Framework to give me this object so that I will call that method, right? So Spring is having the object. So we should not create a new object. Let's go back to our use case. When controller wants to call this method, addition service method, so we need to ask Spring, hey Spring, give me the object of addition add service. Once you give me the object, then I am going to call the method. Means you should not call this one. You should, this is not allowed. You're not supposed to do this. Don't do this. When you are using a new operator, you are basically creating a new object which will be outside the container and you are using it. Our expectation is when controller wants to call service related method, okay, get the understanding here. When the controller wants to call service related method, it should take the service object from container. That's it. So we need to ask Spring, give me object reference of service so that I can call the method. This is how. When one object wants to use another object, how exactly it happens. Okay, so that's our next use case. When controller wants to call service, that is our next scenario. So you are not supposed to create a new service class object using new operator or whatever. You're not supposed to do that. Instead, ask the Spring system, which is nothing but Spring container, to give you the service object reference which is managed by Spring. Once you get that, then okay, once Spring gives you the object reference, then you can call the destination method. This is what is the approach. When controller wants to call the service, you don't create your own new object. Rather, you ask Spring, give me that container managed object, give me that Spring Bean. People will simply say, use the Spring Bean, call it. Spring Bean means it is created and managed by Spring itself. So for easiness, people will say, let's call that Spring Bean. Means you should already understand. So what are we going to do? When controller wants to call service, we will get service Spring Bean and then we will call the method. So don't create a new one. Ask the container to give you that object and then you will be calling that. That is an important behavior we need to understand. Okay, fine. Now comes the question, how to do this? Okay, how can, our major next question is, how can one component, let's say one Spring Bean, let's say, how can one Spring Bean call method of another Spring Bean? We said key from container, fine, that is clear. From container, ask and call. But how to do it technically? How to do this technically? Coding wise, how exactly to do it? Okay, there are multiple approaches. Primarily, we call it as dependency injection and dependency lookup. These are the two approaches. During interview times, again, they will be discussing these things. One Spring Bean wants to have access to another Spring Bean. How can this happen? Dependency lookup or dependency injection. Okay, one Spring Bean wants to have access to another Spring Bean. How to do that? Dependency injection or dependency lookup. We will understand the difference a bit later. What is dependency injection? What is dependency lookup? But for now, just understand this. Okay, there is something called as in dependency injection. There is one annotation available called as @auto wired. This is a special kind of annotation which is going to do this kind of job for us. When one Spring Bean wants to access another Spring Bean, guys, try to relate it with the memory only, then you will understand these things clearly. So currently our situation is this link is not established. Currently you use @component here, we can change that, and since addition service is a service, we can just replace it this with @service annotation, and let's just save this. Okay, just observe, even when you change it to @service, it will still be behaving like a proper Spring Bean itself, which is nothing but on service startup, it is creating an object. So all the service layer, the core business logic is on the service layer. We will prefer to use @service annotation. So that one we have changed, and this we are making a REST API. So we will continue to use @REST controller. Okay, that is also clear. Now our next problem is here. How should controller call the service? One thing we are clear, we should not create object by ourselves because it is a problem. Second thing, we know that in the memory this object is there. So we need to get this object and then call that method. How to do that? Two approaches are there. How can controller get service? Two approaches are there. One is dependency lookup and another is dependency injection. What is dependency lookup? What is dependency injection? Theory we will understand a bit late. First, let's look at it practically. Then we will dissect it into the meaning of this in detail. Okay. So guys, using @auto wired, we can ask Spring, okay, give me reference of that object. Okay. How exactly it works? Just notice this. The way you use @value annotation, right? You created a field and you said @value. Spring is trying to create object of addition controller. Then it is reading, oh, this guy wants to read a value. So Spring is looking in the property file and then assigning the value here. Means during object creation, Spring can give you values. So like this, you can do something like this. Add service. You just put it here. Okay, private add service. You put it there and you don't create this here, and you use this annotation. Control-Shift-O, done. Let's check it out. Okay, just observe. What have we done now? We are not creating the object manually. This annotation is going to tell Spring, give me object reference of this one. That's it. The way this annotation said, give me this value, this annotation is saying, hey Spring, check it in your container. Do you have the object of add service? And then give that object here. I want to call it in my line number 32. Simple. Two annotations. @service you will use here. It will keep the object inside Spring. And here you are asking, give me that object. Okay. First, let's test it. Then we will understand it once more. Okay. Let's test it first. Then we will understand once more. So here we go. Everything is saved. Basic checklist, what we discussed in week 1. Everything should be saved. There should not be any compilation problem. When the service is up, it should be up properly on 8081. That is the basic checklist that everything is okay. And then you go to Postman for further testing. Now we go to the Postman. And now we call this method. Observe, the response is coming. So there is no exception or an error. You can imagine if this object is not available, when you call this, null pointer error should happen, but it is not happening. Means Spring was able to provide that object to you. Okay, let's observe this. So you were able to successfully call the service method. So guys, how do you make one object link to another? So you have two approaches for that. If controller wants to get service, two approaches for that: dependency injection, dependency lookup. What is dependency injection? What is dependency lookup? We will understand it. Give it a few minutes. But right now we realized using this @auto wired annotation, Spring is able to inject the object to us. Let's try to now learn it from diagram perspective. In this code, you used @auto wired. Okay, now when Spring is creating an object of controller, Spring says that I need an object of add service. Then Spring is busy. It will look inside its container. Do I have add service? If it is not there, so it is going to check whether @component and other things, and Spring is going to then create that kind of an object. And then accordingly, because the object is available, now Spring is assigning that object to you. This object reference get assigned to you here. And then when you're testing from Postman, you actually call that endpoint. You actually call that method. So why this is happening? Because of @auto wired. So guys, simple, two steps. First, this object should be managed by Spring. Second, Spring, whenever you use @auto wire, Spring is going to search, do I have this kind of an object with me? If the object is available, Spring is basically giving it to you. Okay, please understand this. Now let's do some experiments here to really understand these two things more detail, because these are very basics. Lot of time in debugging for juniors will be lost here only. Why this object is not assigned, why it is coming null, why there are exceptions. So get these concepts very clearly, memory wise visualize what is happening to the objects. Is it there, not there? You will be able to better debug your application. So what point we are trying to make here, guys? First, here we used @service. Here we used @service. And then we used @auto wire. Expectation is whenever controller object is created, Spring is supposed to take this add service object and give it to us, so that when we call the method, we are able to do this. Okay, fine. So two things we have done: @service, @service on our bean, and second one @auto wired for giving the reference. For giving the reference. Okay, now I have a question for you. Please think. What will happen if I comment @service? That's the question. Okay, in the current code, if I comment @service, what is going to happen? Let's say I go here, add service, and I am commenting this. I have not saved it yet, so it has not taken effect. Think about it. What is going to happen? Think from memory perspective. When you do this basic simple experiments, you will be able to debug properly. Now we have commented this thing out. We commented this code. What is going to happen? First, two questions: will it still work or will it not work? Right? Initially, will it work or will it not work? That's the first question. Okay. Next, if you are saying it is going to not work, if it is going to work, no problem. Postman may you will get the response. If you are saying it is not going to work, okay, do you think it is going to be a service startup problem or runtime problem, execution problem, execution time problem? So basically you have three options. Option number one is it will work, no change. It will work successfully. That's option number one. Option number two is it will fail on service startup. Option number three, it will fail on execution time. Execution time means when you are doing a postman call. Think about what is going to happen. I am going to put this as a poll. Okay, let's think. Service you are commenting, and at the rate AutoWire you are still keeping. Will it work or will it fail? And if it is going to fail, service startup time will it fail, or during execution postman call it is going to fail? Let's put the poll and see how we are thinking here. Okay, let's end this. Even doesn't matter you have passed Spring Boot knowledge or not. This is a beginner question based upon today's knowledge itself, based upon the memory diagram. Think and answer. What will happen? It doesn't need you to know Spring to answer this question. It needs thinking and today's discussion and some logical sense. What is going to happen from these three? Let's see. Okay, let's launch this. Already it's been a minute or so. And one important thing is, right or wrong answer does not matter. Important thing is you need to think, understand, and have an opinion. Okay, maybe this is happening. This I feel this can happen. That attitude should be there. Okay, and then once you're wrong, then you understand, oh, why did I think like that? What was I wrong in? And then next time you then become better. That's how we learn, right? We make mistakes, then we learn from that. The problem here is when you don't think, when you don't have your opinion, that is the problem category. Because when you're in companies, you're in meetings, people will ask you certain question, and if you just follow the rest of the people, whatever others are saying, you blindly say that, automatically people will be like, next time they will not call you for meetings also, saying, hey, this guy does not add any value anyways, right? So please be aware. Okay, fine. So now one member is saying it will work successfully. Fine, whatever thought process, right or wrong does not matter. Fine, maybe due to some reason, maybe Spring is that intelligent, bana lega shayad. You never know, right? What logic framework guys have implemented. So it is okay to think anything. So, but have one opinion. That's very important. Okay. The remaining people are saying, okay, it is going to fail. The majority is going, okay, it is not going to work. 23 members are saying, okay, it will fail during service startup. And remaining 35 are saying it will fail when you are calling from postman. Okay, let's test it, observe, and then try to understand what exactly happened. Okay, so currently we only made change in the code. We have not even saved it. So when we save, dev tool dependency is already there. Service will try to start. Let's see what exactly happens. Okay, now we are doing save all. It should try to restart. If it starts successfully, accordingly we know then what is at least success ho raha hai, nahi ho raha hai. Let's see first what happens. Okay, it did not give the last statement, Tomcat started successfully. And if you're going here, application failed to start, that means these number of guys who have said the second answer, 23 people, they are correct. This one is the right one. Okay, fine. So if startup did not happen, it cannot be successful. And first startup itself failed. We don't have time now to even verify this one, execution. Startup itself failed. So 23 people were correct in this scenario. Okay, fine. Think from memory perspective. Okay, रोने का कुछ भी नहीं है इसमें. There is nothing to cry about. Let's understand. Spring could have done magically. Spring could have created the object because somebody wants it. But thoda sa let's understand this in detail from memory perspective. This is really simple and straightforward. What has happened here? Okay, when this is the container space, try to visualize it with diagram, it becomes clear. Currently in the container, you have used @rest controller on your addition controller. So this is available. And now you are saying, hey Spring, give me add service. Basically, let's convert it into a human language. In controller, you are asking Spring to give you service object bean. Okay, you are asking to give service object bean. But the point is, you have not told Spring to keep the service object in container. So Spring says, Arey, you have not told me to keep the object in container. Why are you asking me? Spring is now confused. You confuse Spring. First, developer did not give the object, and now you are asking Spring, okay, give me that object. Spring is confused. And when Spring is confused, it is not even able to start up properly. You have broken the logic of Spring. Understand, errors happen for a reason. The reason here is you did not give your object to Spring and you are asking for it. How can actually it happen? Let's say, for example, okay, you are there in your home, your mother, you are there in the home. You went to market, you went outside to do whatever. You came after 2 hours and your mother comes to you and says, hey, give me, let's say, curd. You will be like, when did you ask me to get curd? How are you asking me now to give me curd? Arey, you are doing the same thing to the framework. What will your mother say? Okay, you should understand by yourself, like, right? But Spring is like, simple hai bhai. The way you will think as a person going outside, you will tell your mother, Arey, if you wanted curd, first tell me, okay, go get curd. Then I will get the curd, right? Spring is done the same here. You are not giving the object to Spring, you are asking for it. Spring says, I don't know what to do. This guy is like crazy. How can I really give something which I don't have? Spring is crashing. Understand the basic here. You have broken Spring here. You did not give an object. You are asking for the object. Spring is confused. Spring does not even start up then. And that is where the people who said point number 2, they are correct because you confuse Spring. And now I'll give you a reverse question. Think about it and say what is going to happen. Reverse question, intelligence is required, guys. What is the reverse question? Same, we are dealing with 2 annotations here. One is @service and another one is @auto-wired. Take the second scenario. @service is proper, uncommented, and @auto-wire I have done commenting. We know multiple scenario. If both are not commented, code is working. We know that it works. Scenario number 1, if both are not commented, yeah, it works. We tried second scenario. What is the second scenario? If service is commented, auto-wired is not commented. In that case, SpringBoot startup failed. Okay, now let's take the third scenario. What is the third scenario? This one. Service is not commented and @auto-wired is commented. Take a minute to think which of these 3 options will happen. Will it work successfully, or will it cause a startup problem, or will it cause execution time problem? Let's differentiate what is going to happen in this scenario. We will reverse the game here. Service we will uncomment, auto-wire we will comment. So think about it from memory perspective first, then only give answer. Don't try to do it like student, you'll memorize and tell. No, memory mein draw karo. What is actually happening? And then say what will be the answer. Okay. So we will go here to the poll. End the poll here. Creating a next one. Try to draw the memory diagram. Maybe if you have some kind of thing with you, paper, pen, leke, just think about it in memory. What is happening? Service is not commented, auto wire is commented. What is the state of the memory that time? And then will Spring has a problem, not a problem, or successful? Okay? So let's take this scenario. So this is your scenario. And what is going to happen? Will it work successfully? Will it do this? Or will it do the last one? Fail on execution. Okay, let's see. Chalo guys. Previously 23 members thought and came right. Let's see this time how it goes. And whatever your answer is, you need to have a reason for that. Okay, 30 members. Majority is going for runtime. This is going to be a problem, not at start time. Service should start properly. This is what they are thinking. Okay, one perspective. Few of them are saying chalega. Some are saying ki not. Dekho, one thing you have to understand, ki we can only think it might work like this, but how it is implemented, that is Spring responsibility, right? Spring people could have implemented it in any manner, but we need to understand ki what they actually did. They might have 10 options, means they could have done it in any ways. The answer could have been successful also if Spring would have implemented in that manner. Okay, so we need to understand. We are just trying to logically guess what Spring could have done. That's it. Okay, so there is no right answer for this. Spring could have found like 5 ways are there. It chose one of the way. So we are trying to understand which way did Spring choose. It can be implemented in all the 3 ways. What you are saying right now, it can be implemented in all 3 ways. But how is the framework actually doing? We are trying to understand that, right? So, and majority is saying third option is going to happen, which is it will fail when you are testing from Postman. Let's verify it. So first we will try to go here, make the code change. What is the code change? Uncomment this. I'm not saving it right now. Uncomment this, go to the controller and comment this. Okay. This is the question, right? Uncomment that, comment this. Let's look at it from memory perspective. I have not saved it yet. We will save it. First, let's look at it from memory perspective. When I asked you, ki, put it in memory, what we actually meant. Let's see what is happening here. We have this as the memory container. Okay, we have this as the container. And in the container, current situation is addition controller object is there. So addition controller object is there. Next, addition service object is also there. So this addition service is also there because we are using it like this. So both objects are available in memory. This is also there, that is also there. Okay, just that we did not add this variable @AutoWire, we did not add. This is the scenario. Memory wise, this is the situation. We did not add @AutoWire, and now we want to test what is going to happen. Okay, so first we will save the changes and let's see whether service starts properly or not. Okay, so here we go. Both objects are there in the memory. Now we are saving the changes. Observe, there is no problem in service startup. Tomcat started successfully on 8081. Okay, so at least this, all the people who said 11, so they are not right, right? Service will fail on startup. 11 people said that, so no, that's not correct. It is going to go into either it will work successfully or it will go into the third category. Okay, let's go further. Majority have gone for the third category. Let's go further. What exactly it is going to happen? Think about it now as developer perspective. When you are calling this method, it will come, when you go to Postman and you call this method, it will come to line number 32. Guys, developer mindset says you need to ask yourself question, what will be the reference of this add service? What object will be there in add service? Two possibilities. One could be the people who are saying successful. Their possibility is, even though we don't write @autowire, Spring is very intelligent. It will see that in the container. That is a logical argument. Okay. The people who are saying is successful, that's a logical argument. Ki in the service, in the container, already addition service is there. So Spring should be very smart that it will read, you need this value, and Spring gives it automatically. Fine, you can justify that kind of statement. But did Spring really do that? That is what we have to test. They could have done it. What's the harm in that, right? Spring knows what classes we have written, what variables we have written. They could intelligently find and give it. But did they do that? That's the question. And the remaining people, majority, they are saying ki Spring would not have assigned any value because we did not ask. So Spring would not have assigned any value. So when we go here, this value is going to be null, which will give a null pointer exception when we test it from Postman. That is what the third option people are saying, and which is the majority. It will fail during runtime. That basically means कि null pointer रहेगा, we don't have an object. Now let's see the main question here. That's what is root cause. Root cause is either this object has a reference or it does not have a reference. What is the core problem? Either reference will be there or it will not be there. If it is not there, null pointer. If it is there, you call it successful. Let's see क्या होता है अभी. Everything is saved. Service is starting properly. Let's put some enters so we can have the new logs. Now go back here and then call this. Okay. Cannot invoke this because it is null. So all the people who said the third option, they were right. Right? So all the members who said it will fail during runtime, they are correct in this occasion. Spring was not able to give the object. So majority to sahi hai. So you need to think. During interview, what will happen? I will tell you. There is a concept during interview called as poker face. Bluffing, right? As an interviewer, you tell me third. I will say, okay, but in the I know that third is the right answer, but I will still tell you this. But in the latest releases, Spring has added more intelligence that it is going to find this object. Even if you are not asking AutoWire, Spring will find this object, and if it is there in the container, it is going to give you that. I am going to tell you false truth. This we do sometimes during interview. And then we check your confidence. How much confident are you on your topic? Okay, so you need to confidently answer it. If you start shaking in your answer, no, oh, I don't know that. If you become nervous, it means lack of grip on the topic. So you need to showcase yourself very properly. Even if, let's say, you don't know, so you should say, but last time I checked, Spring was not doing that. Maybe in latest releases, they might have done it. I need to check my knowledge. Confidently reply to such cases. If you start shaking there, we know, oh, if itna strong grip is not there on the topic. Okay, so please, we somehow try to hack. Sometimes when you give us the right answer, we still look like a blank face to you. Is it really like that? So then it's like memory mind games also happening during interview time. Okay? So you have to have good knowledge and then confidently show that. Both things are required. Okay, so these are all some small tricks that people keep doing during interview. Okay, fine, let's go. Why? Because we need people who actually know it, not somebody who just learned it and now still having doubt on their own knowledge. So we want to get the right people outside, right? So we will do this kind of drama during interview time. Okay, fine. So chalo guys, third case is also clear. Both are required. So what are our conclusions here? Just notice this. What did we do? We did not ask Spring. So since we did not ask Spring, during service startup, Spring is not having any problem. Point is, object is there, you did not ask, so Spring does not have any problem. In the previous case, object was not there. Here, okay, object was not there. The situation here. Let's try to understand this. Service object was not in container and you were asking it. So Spring is confused and startup failed. That is the reasoning behind it. In this case, what happened? Okay, in this case, what happened? Object is there in memory and you have not asked for it. So Spring does not have a problem, does not have problem. It's like a memory mein hai, person is not asking, fine, does not have a problem, service starts. So you're not confusing Spring here. Service starts, object is there, person is not asking, so it keeps with itself. Service starts. But when you run it, Spring will not give you automatically. You need to ask for it, right? So Spring will not give it to you directly. So the value will be null. So the value will be null, and that results in null pointer exception, and that is what we got. So the answer for this is it fails during the runtime. It fails during the runtime. This is the correct answer. Okay, fine. Now, today, please do experiments with this. This is basics. Many times people get stuck with this only. Why my service is not coming? Why this injection is failing? Why that is happening? Let's try one more experiment to get certain concept about this. And this is interesting experiment. I will again ask you a question. You need to answer it properly. Okay. So let's say you turn on both. So you go here. This is very interesting question, and it will again need your thinking. I am putting this also back on, and this also back on. Okay, service is also uncommented, this is also uncommented. I am saving everything. So this is the first scenario, success scenario. Success, everything is up, service is coming up properly. You go here and you call from postman, result is also coming. Success scenario, both things are there. Object is in memory and you are calling it, so Spring is giving it, and then you are using it, everything happy. Now comes the next question for you. We will do this drama the way we are saying in controller, we are asking, give me service. We will revert the game here. In service, we will ask controller. This is another thing which juniors really struggle to understand. We will do like this. Control Shift O and @ auto wired. Okay. Kind of loop you have given. So what are you saying? Visualize it from memory perspective, otherwise it will become really hard. So we created like this itself, let's say same scenario. We created two Java objects and both of them are Spring Beans. Here @ REST controller is there, so it is inside container, and here @ service is there, so it is also inside container. So till this point, no problem. Both services should come up properly. But where we created some issue, we created @auto wiring. We said auto wire. Here, let's just simply say @auto wired. And we said auto wire service here. And here we are saying auto wire controller. Okay. Now, when controller is trying to be created, we are saying, okay, you Spring, give me this object. Okay, let's see. We are saying Spring, give me this object. When controller is being created, you are asking Spring, give me this object. When service is being created, you are asking Spring, give me this object. Okay, you are doing like this to Spring now. Spring is your friend. You are confusing Spring unnecessarily. Please understand. Okay, scenario number one, when you are putting it like this in controller, you use @auto wired of service. I have not saved it yet, so we don't know what is going to happen. In controller, we did like this. And in your service, we reversed it. In service, we reversed it. Okay, let's see what is going to happen in this case. Okay, so giving some enters, save all, go. Notice here something, guys. Application again failed to start. So basically, when the Spring application is trying to come up, it is trying to come up with this container, create all the required objects. And if it is unable to do it, Spring system will not be coming up. That is what you guys have done to the Spring with this experiment. You are asking Spring ke bhai, create a controller. And while creating a controller, you are saying create like service should be there. And when you are asking service, you are saying controller should be there. Basically, you created a deadlock for Spring. Think about it. Now, you first, you are saying Spring means you are writing the code in that manner and further exploiting Spring framework here. First, you are telling Spring, okay, when addition controller is happening, you should give me object of addition service. Spring is very decent and innocent. You ask if I give me addition service, Spring is like, okay, let me go and get addition service. Then when Spring is getting addition service, Spring realizes, oh, that is also a service. So I should create object of this. Spring starts making this object for you. Then you are asking Spring here, give me the object of addition controller. Spring is like, it's a deadlock. In order to create addition controller, I need you. Now, in order to create you, I need to get addition controller. Kind of cycle may you have taken the beans here. And that is how Spring says, ki, bhaad mein jao, I am not going to come up. And that is what has happened here, guys. And it is clearly telling, okay, there is kind of a, in the form of cyclic dependency you guys have. The dependency of some of the beans in the application is in the form of cycle. And then it is explaining also, okay, what cyclic problem you created. You created a problem between controller and service. They are both dependent on each other. How it is possible? How? You are saying, okay, first this should happen. And then while you are doing that, you are saying, no, first that should happen. Loop mein chala gaya. Spring is like, I don't know what to do. And that is what this is saying. Relying upon circular referencing is discouraged and they are prohibited by default. You cannot do cyclic dependency. So you need to be careful with that. It should never loop back. Okay. Now, they have provided some way. Okay, by default, we have stopped it. But if you still say, no, I need it at any cost. Yes, they are giving you certain options. Okay, only on need basis, you can just turn some other, okay, allow circular referencing, this kind of parameter, you can turn it on and then it will be happening. But they still, as a last resort, means ke bhai, don't use it at all, avoid it. But if you are saying ke, no, this circle has to happen, in that case, yes, you can enable it. But in my recommendation, never build the system where this dependency is there, because Spring might not be able to initialize things properly and unexpected problems will happen in the application. So design it in a manner that this circular referencing does not happen. Please be aware of that. Okay. Now, please note this. The circular dependency is not about two beans. It can be even big. Okay. So when you are doing coding, it can even get more complicated. What does that mean? You have this container. In order to create controller, you are saying we also need service 1. In service 1, you auto-wired service 2. And in service 2, you auto-wired controller. Like this is also chaining. Please note that chains can be created. Cycles can be created. It's not just about 2 beans. Even between 10 beans, if you create a chain, it is going to cause a problem. And eventually, system is not going to work properly. So please understand, we need to not have cycles. Even though Spring has given a last resort for that, avoid using it. They are also recommending, okay, please don't do it because you are compromising on framework behavior. So no cycling, okay? Yahan tak is fine. This loop should not come back to controller. Okay, so yes, controller can use one service can use another, but that service cannot use controller back. Cycle should not be created. Because what happens when Spring is trying to create this object? Spring is looking to create this object. While it is trying to create this object, it is looking for creating this object. And this object is again trying to create for this. It's a loop. and Spring will be not able to resolve this, and then it will fail as well. So that is the next learning which you should understand. Generally, these kind of exceptions between Spring application coming up and execution cause real headache to people, and that primary thing happens because they don't think from memory perspective about what they are doing. That is where confusion starts happening. So try to put it into memory. What object you are using? Is it outside? Is it inside? Are you getting it? Not getting it? Sab kuch things will become clear for you. So let's make a note of this. Okay, avoid circular dependency. Okay, Spring Boot or Spring will fail by default. Okay, not allowing circular referencing, and this is what it is: circular referencing scenario. Circular referencing. Okay. Okay, fine. Chalo, let's move on to the next topic. Let's move to the next topic. Okay. Okay. Guys, are we clear with this? Please give a quick thumbs up. Are we clear with this? And today, na, experiment with all this. Automatically things will happen. Okay, fine. Next, let's continue. Guys, whatever technical questions here and there you have, you just put it to ChatGPT, self-solve those things, dig into more things. You will automatically get the concepts there. Okay, now things are very simple. Once you get the core understanding, all the side-related things you can self-explore and get it. Okay, so get the core understanding and start experimenting, dig more. N number of permutations, combinations can be there. You get all those answers using AI, right? It's very easy now. So to resolve things quickly. Okay, chalo, let's go through further. If you look at the current code, so we need to first resolve this problem. So circular dependency we need to resolve. So I will just remove this. Okay, we will save this back. Okay, now service is up and running and we are able to call it from here. This is working. System is back to our normal situation. Okay. Okay, now let's understand this issue here. There is one issue here. What we did is we gave the value here. Okay, there are a few learnings. Sonar, in the week number 1, we said some best practices of coding Sonar is going to raise, and whenever it feels okay, something is not right, it will put it into a blue mark. So keep an eye when you're coding on blue marks. It's not required that you solve everything, but something which is really, if you feel okay, no, fine, I'll go ahead with that good practice, yes, you should definitely do it. Okay, some projects will mandate that Sonar, a serious problem, severity will also be there in Sonar. This is high problem, this is low problem. So let's open this Windows, show view. Let's see others. Sonar cube on the fly. Open. Here we have Sonar. Let me put Sonar here. Okay, fine. Sonar is here. Okay. Now, Sonar is giving us 2 suggestions right now. One suggestion is here. Nothing but the block of commented out lines should be removed. It is just saying, okay, if you are not using this code, why are you keeping this? Just delete it. Fine. Let's just delete it. Okay. So unused code should not be there. That is one of the recommendation. Fine, we removed it. Sonar is recommending one more thing. Let's try to learn and understand this one now. Remove this field injection and use a constructor injection. Okay. If you do a mouse over on this auto wired, so far we played around with auto wired, did a lot of experiments. But now if you do mouse over here, it is saying remove this field injection and use constructor injection. Okay, what does this mean? Let's try to understand that. Some time ago we said one bean wants to have reference of another bean. That we said it can be done in 2 styles. One is dependency injection and another one is dependency lookup. Okay, what we were doing so far at the rate AutoWire is nothing but dependency injection style. At the rate AutoWired is in dependency injection style. And there are different types of dependency injection. There are different types of dependency injection. Okay, what we used when we used AutoWire on field, we applied field injection, and that is what Sonar is telling us here. What is it saying? Remove this field injection. So the popular ways of doing this dependency injection is field injection and constructor injection. Okay, so two popular ways. When you apply it on field, it is field injection. If you ask for this object via constructor, it is constructor injection. Okay, so please be aware there are two types. Field injection, when you use on field, okay, so the dependent bean is injected on your field, that is called as field injection. Field injection, the dependency bean, okay, is injected on your field, you call it as the field injection. Next, you can use constructor injection. So you can just imagine when you are doing this on constructor injection, when you use at the rate AutoWired on constructor, okay, the dependent bean is injected on or through your constructor, that is constructor injection. The dependent bean is injected through constructor. So that is another style. And now you have to understand, Sonar best practices are saying don't use field injection, use constructor injection, because that is more faster and better in performance. So recommendation is to use constructor injection, don't use this one. Okay, so even with latest Spring Boot version, constructor injection is by default assumed. Okay, you should go with constructor injection. If you have not done that, then they fall it back and try to do it via field injection. There are some other types of injections also, setter method injections, arbitrary method injections, but again those things are not that commonly used. Rare cases people will go for that, but otherwise two kind of injections: constructor injection, field injection. When the dependent bean is injected on your field, that is field injection. So this is the primary definition. When the dependent bean is injected on your field, that is field injection. When the dependent bean is injected through your constructor, it is constructor injection. Try to relate with the term here, injection. Doctor gives injection, right? Nothing but whatever that chemical ya jo bhi hai, right? It puts it in your veins and injects it. It gives it to you, injection, right? That is where dependency injection. Okay, your dependency is going to be injected to you, means given to you. So that is how this style comes up: field injection, constructor injection. So if you want to take it with our example, we can put it in a simple human language. Okay, when controller object is being created, give me object of service via field. That is nothing but field injection. This is in simple human language terminology. Next, we can simply modify this. When controller object is being created, give me object of service via constructor. That we can call it as a constructor injection. Okay, and Sonar is recommending constructor, so Sonar says use constructor injection. So this one is a good one. Use constructor. So in the projects also, many times we are habituating to use constructor injection, not a field injection. So that is very common. Don't be surprised in your projects where you don't put these things on the fields directly. Okay, how do you write a constructor injection? That is our next topic. How to write constructor injection. All the major core concepts of Spring today itself we are covering, so that you can practice all of this, experiment with all of this. Okay, how do you write constructor injection? We all know how to write constructor. Okay, think about constructor injection. It's like doctor is injecting you, right? It means when you are creating the constructor, the dependent service should be given to you. So how do you write constructors, guys? My class is your Java class. If you're writing a constructor, you will basically write a constructor like this. This is a no parameter constructor. Think about it with some logical sense. If it is no parameter constructor, how can service class object come here? So default constructor, no parameter constructor is not useful. Okay, you need a parameterized constructor. For example, something like this, my class, and there you say add service. And let's say service object. So this is actually used during constructor injection. Means when Spring is trying to create an object, let's give our names, add controller. And this is also add controller, addition controller, whatever we have named there. So Spring is going to use parameterized constructor in order to inject that object. So no need to define this no argument constructor, directly give array. Okay, they have put in intelligence and Copilot and AI even with the Notepad latest versions. Fine. So in this case, Spring is going to create an object of addition controller using this parameterized constructor, because only with parameterized constructor Spring can provide this kind of an object. So we need to inject it using a parameterized constructor. So what code changes we will do here? Instead of writing it like this, we will write our own constructor here. Okay, this guy is already recommending us something, GitHub Copilot. This is a default one. It's not going to work for us because we need this object. So how do we get this object? Okay, we get it like this. Okay, like this. And then @autowired, you're not supposed to use it on field. You can move this here on controller. Guys, observe this feature is really good, right? You can highlight it and move the piece of line up and down. What I'm doing, Alt and up down arrow. This is very commonly used just for doing this kind of work. Rather than deleting and all, you can just move it and get to the right place. Alt and up down arrow. Okay, not sure we discussed it in week 1, but if not, no, we have not discussed it. So I will say another shortcut, Alt plus, you need to use up arrow. Okay, I'll just say here up arrow or down arrow. Okay, so basically selected lines will be moved up or down. It's not just one line. If you select a bunch of lines here, it all moves. Okay, it is continuously moving here and there. So you will need this. It is very handy and very good shortcut as well. Alt and up down arrow. Different IDs might have some other ways to do it or whatever. Okay, figure it out. Fine. So private add service, you should not use it here. You should write it here. Can we do one thing? Let's just log this value here. Log controller, addition controller. Okay, constructor. We will say constructor called and then addition service. Let's just print this and put it addition service. In week 1, we said logging basics, whatever is the variable name, colon, its value. This is the logger syntax for that. This curly braces will be replaced by this value. Okay, and we are following with this simple thing. whatever variable name, colon, value. This improves the readability of the log. Okay, now let's just save this and see whether this add service is printed here or not. Okay, so guys, we save this. Spring application started up. Just observe. Observe. Wonderful. First of all, here service constructor is called. Add service constructor is called. Just observe. This is the add service object reference. After that, it called init method of the service. After that, it tried to create a constructor object, and in the constructor object, add controller, addition controller constructor it tried to create. And when it is trying to do that, it used the add service object. So Spring Bean is constructor injected. Are you noticing it? In the add service, when the constructor is created, this is the value. So first it created that constructor, then it called post construct also, it called this also. Then it moved into creating addition controller object. It called parameterized, and while it is calling the parameterized constructor, it has printed that object, injected that object here. That is constructor injection. So if it is field injection, you don't have to do all this drama. Here itself it is going to be available, but constructor injection means you need to write it in this manner. Okay, fine. Constructor injection, you need to write it in this manner. Please be aware of that. So your syntax is going to be like this. Let me put both the piece of code so you can understand how we are supposed to do it. Okay, how we are supposed to do it. This is how we can do constructor injection. Okay, guys, there is a problem here. Spring has done its job. Spring gave you the object. We have not done our job. We did not consume the object. Are you noticing? Spring gave the object here. Now, assigning it to add service is our responsibility. Spring has given the object here. So please be aware. Here sometimes people might just unknowingly miss it or whatever. Spring has injected the value, but we have not assigned to our variable. So in this scenario, when you call this, null pointer is going to happen. Simple things will take a lot of time. When value is coming, why is it not happening here? Thoda basics of programming. Okay, Spring has given you the object. We have not assigned it to the variable. Simple constructor. How does it work? When you are calling something, you initialize your fields inside constructor, right? So here we did not do. So if you take this code and you go to the postman and you're trying to call it, okay, yes, it is going to fail because the reference is not assigned. But we understood that previously itself, based upon logs, Spring gave you. Now it is not a framework problem. That is where, guys, you need to understand what you are doing wrong. Okay, guys, if you do everything right, it should work successfully. Generally, always junior comes, or I did everything, but framework is not working. Exceptions are coming. Or it means you have not done everything. If exceptions are there, means you have created some problem in the system. So don't put it on framework, or if framework is like this. No, framework is not like that. You need to solve what you are doing because framework is not in alignment with that. Okay, for example, in this case, framework gave you the reference. So don't blame constructor injection is not working. People will draw wrong conclusions very confidently. Constructor injection is not working. I will do field only. Hurry, put it to your variable. It's your problem. Constructor injection worked. Spring took the object. Spring gave it to you. We printed it. Now you have not assigned it. It is your fault. Don't say a constructor injection is failing. No, it worked. So you need to have this understanding. What is working? What is not working? Why it is not working? Is it your mistake, or is it framework is understanding, expecting something else, and you're not providing like that? So thinking is required, guys. That is where I said today session, core foundation, you have to learn how to think. It's not just about using these annotations, because these are simple annotations, guys. Within 15 minutes, we can just finish all these annotations. But thinking development will take time. It's not a 15-minute job to finish it. It needs time, because you have to think, oh, what is a container? When does an object go inside a container? What annotations can take it there? If this object needs to be referred by other objects, how is it possible? How to do injections? If field is happening, means Spring is taking this object, assigning it to the field. If constructor is happening, means Spring is giving it to the constructor. We need to take it and assign it to the field. So you need to understand all these pieces. Then you can build code in the project. Otherwise, you will be stuck at every single step because you don't understand what framework wants from you. So please note, our next aim is the way you have written constructors in your simple core Java, this dot add service equal to like this. And then we take the reference, we assign it here, and then when this line will come, it is supposed to execute. Let's save the changes. Make sure service is up and running. It should be like red mark here, 8081, and then you go and then you call this. Okay, it is working. So guys, what was this experiment? Okay, what was this experiment? While doing constructor injection, ensure the value is assigned to your instance field. Okay, that is very important. So the code should be like this. You will say, we always do it like that. No, you might miss it, and you might just start thinking, oh, constructor injection is Spring is not giving me the object. That is where it is coming null. Silly mistake. You did not assign it, and it might kill a lot of your time. That is where we have focused on this one aspect. Okay, fine. Team, are we clear with this? Okay, guys, are we clear with this? Okay, super. Whatever key concepts which we discussed right from the beginning of the session till now, let's walk through it once before we go to the next topic. Okay, everybody, focus. A summary, everything we will link one by one. We still have to do dependency lookup discussion also. So or hai, but let's summarize what we have done. One master session mein full core of Spring we are trying to understand. Some topics will be still pending, which we will continue tomorrow. Okay, but practicing today's tomorrow framework is mandatory. Then only we can focus on functionality building from the next week onwards. Don't compromise on all these things. Objects creation, managements, injections, everything mandate. First, let's summarize. Okay, everybody, let's go to the notepad. What have we discussed right from the beginning of today's session? Let's go directly to the Spring part. Okay, Spring and Spring Boot. We understood the basic ladder. Let's not repeat the ladder. That part you can watch it again. So where is the ladder, by the way? Okay, this one. So we already know where what fits. That section is fine. Technical part, let's summarize again. Okay, what is the technical part? The main concept of Spring is inversion of control. When developers were managing the objects, creating objects, managing objects, there were a lot of memory related problems. Application was becoming slow. It was causing a lot of leaks and application crashing, and people were unnecessarily creating multiple objects, misusing the memory, and which was affecting the projects in very bad manner. So framework decided, let's go ahead using a inversion of control. Let's take the control and give it to the framework. Object creation and maintenance will be done by framework. Perfect. Next, how does framework do that? That is where it needs the concept of container. Okay, framework creates a container, and in that it will create the object, manage the object. Okay, next, the objects which are created and managed by container are called as Spring Beans. Okay, so later down we have defined it, but again, objects which are created and managed by container are called as Spring Beans. Okay, Spring Beans. Next, you need to understand there are majorly two types of containers. There are two types of containers. So just telling a container, no, there is some more technicality also here. There are majorly two types of containers in the Spring related ecosystem. One is called as bean factory container, and the second one is application context container. Please be aware of this. Okay, container. Okay, so these are two types of containers. Please note, this one is the advanced container with lot of Spring features. This one is having bare minimum features. Generally, in the current times, all projects, even Spring by default, give support to this only. So, but let's say some kind of application where you want basic Spring features, you don't have too much of memory and stuff like that. Their basic features only you need, you can go ahead with this, but almost all 99% of the real-time scenarios will use this one itself, and SpringBoot by default is using this itself. But please be aware, there are two types of containers: bean factory container, which is minimal Spring capability, and then advanced one is application context container. Okay, again, what they have done is they took the bean factory and extended its capability. So the way on top of SpringBoot was there, right, extended like that. Application context container, first they took the bean factory, they added a lot of things and extended the potential. So application context container is extension of bean factory with much more capability. Okay, with more features and capabilities. Please be aware of that. During interview time, they might touch this area also. Okay, so container. IOC is the main feature. How it implements IOC? Using container. Container can be called as IOC container, Spring container, or simply container. Different terms, same thing. What a container is used for? Creating and managing objects. The objects which are managed by Spring are called as Spring Beans. Memory wise, you should be able to map. Next, there are two types of containers: bean factory container, application context container. This is the advanced one with more features. Almost all projects will use this only. Okay, hardly you will work with this. In my 15 years, I never used this one. So always it has been this only, and I've done a lot of Spring related coding almost since past beginning of my career. I started with Spring as my first project. Later SpringBoot came, so we switched to working with SpringBoot systems. Okay, fine. So that is the next point. Next, moving on. You should not use object creation. Spring should do that. And then we understood that somehow addition controller, which we created in week 1, Spring is creating and managing it. What does that mean? Spring is able to give it these kind of configurations, call your initialization methods that we demonstrated. Okay, so this one was managed by Spring. What does that mean? Okay, give you the required dependencies, give you the required values, call your init related method. When the object is released, doing the garbage collection, finalizing on that object, all that destruction of that object, Spring will take care. Okay, that is how it is. Next, we explained that part with example. Next, we realized add service, we did not make it as a Spring Bean. So Spring was not taking care of that. Okay, so then we understood how to make it as a Spring Bean. We need to use certain annotations. It will give special behaviors. Then we realized the main annotation is component. When we assign component, we realize it is able to create the object and make it available. Okay, then we saw the scenario. This one was there, and even this one was there. So memory wise, two objects are created then, right? And this is a scenario where Spring is creating plus developer are creating and using. So don't do this. This is wrong. You have to use this object only. You should not create your own objects. You are spoiling the purpose of Spring itself here. So we need this object from the memory. Then we started getting in, how do we get those kind of objects? How do we get those kind of objects? And then that is where we realized addition controller, how did that go inside? Using REST controller. And then we came to the point, by using these multiple annotations, we can make our Java class to be created and managed by Spring related system. Okay. And then we understood the purpose of all these class. Fine, some basics about annotations we understood. And then objects are created, how they can use each other. Okay, that is where one object is dependent on another object. That is where the terminology comes, dependency injection, dependency lookup, because two objects are now dependent on each other. Okay, now they want to get the dependency and call some method. So what are the approaches? Controller, service. Now there is a dependency between these two. Controller wants the service, then only it can call service methods. How to make this thing possible? Two approaches are there. One approach is dependency injection. Another approach is dependency lookup. Lookup we have not discussed so far. We will go there, but fine. How exactly to make this possible? When controller wants to call to the service, approach is container should give it. You should not use a new keyword. Container should give it to you. And once container is giving, you can call the method. Now, how to get it from container? Okay, that is where dependency lookup, dependency injection. First, we discuss the dependency injection part. Service dependency is injected to controller. Okay, and we realized it is of two major types. We did a lot of all these experiments. You can follow up around with the experiments, but there we understood basically two things, circular and everything. Experimenting was there. These two concepts. Service needs to be injected, given to controller, and that is nothing but dependency injection. It can be done in two major styles, field injection, constructor injection. There are some more types also, like setter injection or arbitrary method injection, but these are not very much used, almost never. You mostly work with this itself. And using Sonar, we realized, as per best practices, it told us go for constructor injection. The reason for constructor is when the object is being created, there itself it gives you the dependent class also. In field injection, first object will be created, and then when field initialization is happening, then it is trying to inject the values there. So this works in a more faster and optimized manner. That is where this one is recommended, because constructor is where object creation is happening. There itself give it whatever it needs. Why to do double work? Okay, first try to constructor initialize and then field setting separately. Don't do such kind of things. So Sonar is recommending this. This one is a good one, and we completed it so far with certain examples how to do it as well. Last point which we touched, injection is going to happen, but don't forget to assign it to your variable. Then only it will have a reference. Core Java basics, once you have a reference, then only call a method. Without reference, value will be null. On null, you call, you get null pointer exception. So we need to make sure our core Java related basics are not violated. Okay, fine. This much we have done. Now there is next improvement to understand. Okay, what is that? Just observe this. Now there is something kind of, not sure whether you guys know this, but for constructor injection, @autowired is optional. Means even without writing this, it will work. Okay. For field injection, it is mandatory. For constructor injection, it is optional. Means whether it is there or not there, Spring is intelligent here. When it is calling this constructor, it will give you the reference, even if you don't mention this one. So please be aware. For example, I will just comment this thing out. Let's comment this thing out and try to save it, and let's see what happens. Just see, service startup, no problem. Okay, further, look at the constructor, controller constructor, and then add service. Yes, service reference came. Which is the service reference? It is the bean reference only. So what is the next point that we learn? While doing constructor injection, @autowired is optional. So don't blindly say during interview when they say how to do dependency injection, don't simply say use @autowired, because here it is not happening. So how do you give the object? You should say using dependency injection we can do either field injection or constructor injection. These are commonly used ones. Then they say how to do field injection. Then comes the answer @autowired. How to do constructor injection? We need to write a parameterized constructor. Take that value. Spring is going to give us that value. Then you assign it to the variable and then you use it where you want to use it. And @autowired is optional during constructor injection. These are the right set of answers. So don't draw wrong conclusions and don't give wrong answers. So conceptually understanding is required. Then you can code it, then you can test it. Fine. Let's write down that point. Let's write down that point. When doing constructor injection, @autowired on constructor is optional. And don't try to do something like this, okay? Moving it here and doing it like this. Don't do that. Okay, don't do this. This is like you're trying to double do it. So it works, okay? It works, but it is, Spring will by default use this and ignore this one, but you're confusing the rest of the people unnecessary, okay? Never do this. This means you're saying field also, constructor also. Internally, Spring is smart enough. It does it in an optimized manner, but you are confusing rest of the developers. Okay, what it actually is happening. This is just a code which should never exist. It is wrongly written. So, okay, so this is double. No, don't do that. You are not supposed to use it here. When you do constructor, you go ahead with constructor. Either you can write here or you can remove it, but this is what it is. Okay, please be aware, don't put both the injections. It is not right. System will still work, but it is not right to do. Okay, fine. So when doing constructor injection, this is optional. Also make sure you don't apply both constructor and field injection. This is important. For example, let's just test this. We save everything. We save everything. Service is up. Tomcat started 8080. You come here, you test it. It's working. Means yes, without this annotation it works. And this is how you write in general terms. Okay, like this your code piece should be. Okay, fine, very good. Next experiment. In the week number 1, we introduced Lombok, right? Getter setter removal, logger object removal. Lombok has given some annotations. You can remove constructors. No need to write constructors. That is awesome with Lombok. Okay. How it can happen? Let's look at here. Lombok has given some annotations. Let's see this. I will comment this code. These are basic things, handy things developers should definitely know. I commented this out. Means constructor is not there. Let me save this. Look, at runtime it will fail. This value will be null. We did all those experiments. But constructor I removed. Let's do a control O. Observe when you do control O. There is no constructor available here. Observe the another point. There is a log object here. This control O shortcut will tell you all the variables, methods which are available here. Control O. Observe, there is no constructor. Okay. If you remove this, save it, do a control O, observe, there is a constructor. So I'm just trying to show you can view the internal details about your classes just like that. If you want to go to any method, let's say init method, rather than scrolling, you do a control O, you click on this init, you go to the init. Easy to reach. Your class having 10 methods. You don't need to scroll or do a control F for that. You use IDE, beautiful tool, control O. And let's say you want to go to this my field, you click on my field, easy navigation is there. So very commonly used shortcut. Don't do like childish game searching control F, where is my method, where is my class. No, ID should be used like professionals, right? So please, we have already spoken about this. Control O, you can find overview of the class and just go to the required method. You can click on any method, variable, and reach on that position. Super. Okay. So, but now what are we discussing? We are discussing Lombok. And what that Lombok says, okay, you don't have to write this constructor. We can ask Lombok to do that for us. How exactly? Currently, let's say we saved. Control O. There is no constructor. Now, you can go here, and Lombok is offering an annotation. Multiple annotations are there. One annotation called as @required arg constructor. Okay, just observe. @required arg constructor. What it does is, okay, it creates constructor with required arguments. Okay, let's do control O. Observe, by default, it created a no argument constructor. But one thing we understood, okay, it created a constructor. If you don't write this and do a control O, constructor is not available. You don't see that C constructor, right? So, but when you add this, control O, yes, that is available. So at least it is creating constructor. This is what is our understanding. Okay. So this creates constructor. Okay. Fine. It created a constructor, but the nature is required argument. So currently somewhere it did not provide any argument. How does it know which argument to consider? That is where you need to use a final year. Okay, you need to make your variables final. Then Lombok is going to create a constructor accepting those things. So let's try to save it. Control O, and now observe, constructor is created and expecting that parameter also. So how do you make it a required argument constructor? Give me a constructor of required argument. Required argument you will be telling to the Lombok system by making the variable as final variable. Okay. So now what is going to happen? Just observe. We don't have to write this code at all. So there is no risk of people forgetting to do this drama. You can simply delete this. That is very smart enough, Lombok. It is going to do that coding for you. It will create a constructor, capture this value, and assign the value also. That is beautiful. Scope of making mistakes is gone. Developer is not even writing a constructor, not even doing @AutoWire. It is all happening behind the screen. Let's test it whether this is working. So everything is saved. There is no compilation problem. Let's look at the service startup. Is there a service startup problem? Let's go here. Let's call it. No service startup problem, no execution problem. Almost magical. Where is constructor injection? This is also constructor injection, but we are not creating constructor. Lombok API is doing it. When you do control O, you can see that constructor is generated for us. And the business logic internally is to take this reference and assign it to that final variable. Mistakes are removed or not? That is where using Lombok in the project. It simplifies these kind of things. No logger. We have not written logger, but control O, there is a log object created. We did not write constructor. 2-3 lines are gone. Mistake of if people are not assigning is gone. So industry में these kind of shortcuts, tools will make it more better when you do your coding. Okay, so let's note this code snippet also. All this code which I am doing right now, on this weekend I will be sharing it with you, weekend mein. But today, that is where I'm saying, watch the full recording again, practically code and complete task together. Maybe double X the speed, pause, play, skip, forward, back, but get all the topic. Whichever topic you feel okay, some confusion is there, on that topic, go to internet, whatever questions are there, research. Guys, देखो simple है. In the time of AI, if you are not able to solve your problem, I'm telling you, you are way behind in the race. If AI is there and still you cannot do your work, means your brain is not logically problem solving right now. देखो guys, brain का intelligence is there, but you are not using your capability. You're not putting your logic to think. Okay, please don't do that. Please notice this. When we were born as a child, our brain, everybody, human being ka brain is very smart. Whichever family you are born in, you start learning that language. Understand the potential of your brain. Any part of the world, anybody is there. Wherever you are born, you understand that culture. The brain is designed to learn, adapt, become smart. Capability is there in all of you. But if you don't ask the right questions, if you don't guide your mind to think in the right direction, not able to use AI to, and that needs again your logical thinking approach, right? I don't know this question. Let me go to AI, ask the right question, have the patience to read the answer, then experiment with the answer. You need to do that. That's how your brain learns. Guys, what is this AI created? All the internet data, they are feeding to a machine and machine is learning. Why don't you feed all those thoughts in your mind so that your mind can actually learn? This is the drawback when people are saying AI is going to really grow and people might become dumber. The problem here is if people stop their thinking, they will become dumb. So smart brain, but not thinking is not going to be any value. And then on the other side, now just imagine, full internet ka data is trained on AI model. Now AI model is very smart and answering so logically. What you are doing with your brain, if you really understand, majority of you are training your brain by consuming just reels, images, social media, comments, time pass. You are training your brain with junk data, with negativity, with fights, with arguments, with clashes. And you're doing it the way people did it to AI. Tons of data, every day, multiple hours, just scrolling mindlessly. What you're doing is you're consuming that data and you're training your data brain to become dumb. Now that's the truth under the story. You are training yourself to become dumb by just scrolling, not thinking, not developing logic, not developing problem solving, and you're getting more lazy. This is happening to majority of the human beings, and it is going to get worse as the time moves forward because AI is only at the beginning era. The next 10-20 years will change the way human beings lived in the past. You need to protect yourself. It's been now 2 years. I have not scrolled on Instagram. I have not scrolled on Facebook. I have just left those apps. It's been 2 years. 2024 January, I left it and I have not gone there back. It was just one decision because I want to protect my brain. Second thing what I have done, on YouTube, I created a different channel for myself and I subscribed only 10 people there only for valuable information. I don't go to my YouTube feed. I only go to my YouTube subscribed people where I only consume the right information which is good for my brain and gives me knowledge. So I customized my social media so that I never see junk. So even though these reels and time pass recommendations comes, I don't go there. They created it in an addicted manner. So if it is in front of you, you will go there. I trained my brain, go to only the subscribed thing where there are only 10 people. And then based upon what I want to learn at that point of time, I will find the right people, I will subscribe to them, I will learn whatever I can, and when I move to the next topic, I will unsubscribe these people, then go to the next topic of whatever I want to learn. Next, for 6 months, I will consume everything. I will take up courses here and there and self-prepare, work with AI, and that's how one by one you train yourself to become better. If you allow yourself to be misused by the world, in the end, your brain will lose its ability to think logically. The capability is there, but it is getting damaged every single day. And it is happening because of you only. You need to understand that. It's your life. You are born once on this planet. You will live for 100 years, and then you will leave this planet. You just have 100 years. Don't let your brain get corrupted and become useless to the planet. If your brain doesn't function, if dreams are not there, desires are not there, purpose of your existence is not there, your mind is like formatted by the social media and all of these things online, it is going to get very much problematic, and future is going to be really scary. And we don't know, because we have not seen the future. Social media, people were crying about it. Addiction ke liye we have age restrictions, right? Drinking 18 and above, driving like 18 and above. But social media, we don't have such age cutoffs. Right from childhood, it's there. And some people are saying just social media addiction is as dangerous as alcohol consumptions, drugs habit, and even driving at a minor age. It's that serious. But world has not put caps on that. And all of our homes, even in my home, the childs which are there, my brother's son and all that, so for them also phone is there in their hand. I went to my CEO's home one day. His daughter was in college, not having phone. Few years ago, you can imagine, in college, CEO's daughter, he did not buy phone. His another son was in school, 7th, 8th something, not having the phone. My CEO's daughter. You explore about Mark Zuckerberg, what he does to his children. He protects against all this chaos. You need to do that to your brain. The world does not care. The world will misuse you. You need to protect yourself, have your dream, have your goal, protect your time. Who should be allowed to take your time? It's a choice which you should have, not just give it to the world around, right? So protect yourself. And majority are not in control, and that is how it is. So it's not the like very 1% is only affected. No, majority is not in control of their life, and they will realize it. Just let a few years pass by. Their mind will not function. They will be lazy. They will be irritated very soon. They will be filled with negativity and hate, and they will not love their life because of crap which is there around. Okay, not sure if you know this. Long time ago, many centuries ago, a scholar gave this statement: you are the sum total of the people you surround yourself with. What does that mean? The 5 people who are in touch with you, you will become like them. It is how brain psychology works. You hang out with negative people, after some time you will become negative. You hang out with positive, inspiring people who wants to do something in life, after some time you will become like them. That psychology was written many centuries ago by great scholars of the world. In the times of social media, it's not 5 people you're connected with internet around you. And whatever you are consuming, you're training your brain to change and become whatever you consume. So if you consume hate, if you consume fights, if you consume arguments, you will become that person. And that is not choice. It will happen. That's guaranteed. Because your brain learns. The way AI is trained by pumping data in, you are pumping massive amounts of negativity to your mind daily, laziness to your mind daily. The brain will become lazy, negative, irritated, frustrated, will lose hope, will not believe in your own abilities. It will happen because you are training your brain to become that. This topic just came all from a different context, but you need to protect yourself, because future can be scary if you don't take charge of your life. So since I am doing some things different, because I know that my time on the planet should be a happy time, I don't want frustration and in the end crying, okay, what happened to my life? No, there should be a dream. There has to be a purpose. You have all 24 hours. We have all 24 hours. We need to make the most of it. Not crying, complaining, blaming. In the end, though, everybody will leave this planet, right? But how the journey you are passing, be in control. Okay? Be in control. It is very important. This is the last topic of today. Required our constructor. Coming back, guys, are you getting it? Please protect yourself. It's required. Okay, please protect yourself. It's required. We have not seen the future consequences of all this. And this is not just talk. This is real. It's already happening to people. There are statistics and surveys which are saying after the time social media came to the world, lot of stats got affected. It's like two-edged sword, that positive and negative be. Like television, positive also, negative also. Like education, it will have positive education, negative things will also be there. Everything has two sides. So you need to use it, because if you don't use social media, how will you know what a CEO and a business owner of US is thinking right now? So detaching from digital world, I'm not telling that. I am connected, but I am connected by my choice. Okay, LinkedIn pe I am engaged because wahan pe opportunities are there. On YouTube, I know who people to follow and what my purpose is. Accordingly, I align. So I'm connected with the world to really see. I don't subscribe to negative news and all those things because that is waste for me. Fine, world mein problems are there. Problems are there everywhere. What will you do? You need to do things which you can solve and do something in that. Worrying is not going to solve your problem. So my suggestion for all the job seekers will be, don't get influenced by market mein job is not there, layoffs are happening. Detach from all that. Focus on, okay, where the opening is there, how I can get the job. Focus on the right inputs. See, you will see that, you will capture from that, right? Don't get touched by all these negative aspects. Just know this, there are lakhs of employees working every single day. You are one person needing only one job. Lakhs of people are working here. One person, no matter how bad the market is, you will only not get the job if IT industry does not exist on the world. That is the only possibility where you cannot get the job, and that is not going to happen even for the next 20 years as well, right? एक job चाहिए, मिल जाएगा. Don't get influenced by whatever other. It might be hard, but हो जाएगा. Fine. Let's just draw the conclusion of what we were discussing and take the attendance. And next we will continue with tomorrow discussion Friday. Spring wala topic itself will continue, and Spring Boot features we will be discussing. The last topic which we were talking about today is a smarter way to use constructor injection. You don't need to write a constructor also. No need to use auto wired. Just use like this and make your variable final. That is the last topic for today. And let's just print it here. And I seriously want you to take care of your life, guys. This is going to get scary as time passes by. Okay. Okay. Do you know this? I don't know. Like, just observe this. I don't think you can listen to this audio. I think there is a way. Let me stop my screen share. On my desktop itself, I have this. Let me show it to you. It's not. I think only browser audio can be shared in Google Meet. But just note this. In my desktop, I just kept this small clip. It is by Brent Tracy. Good guy. Okay. And I think you will not be able to hear the audio, but every 2-3 days, I listen to this audio by this guy. I'll share it in the group, in our WhatsApp group, I will share it. And this is by Brent Tracy. Okay. Just observe. I think audio is not coming, but just observe. The one thing that can have greatest impact on your life at any time, okay, is focus. Focus is the key to your success. That's why I am so concerned about what I call attraction to distraction. In the current world, everybody is attracted towards distraction. Short attention span, wasting their time, becoming lazy, context switching, not able to work for 5 hours on one dream. That's powerful. Okay, it is so disturbing because it guarantees failure in life. When you are addicted to distraction and you don't have focus in your life, it's a guaranteed failure. Okay, you actually become addicted to distraction and you cannot stop it. And if you have addicted to distraction, I think the main points are already this: you cannot focus on anything else. You haven't got a chance. Okay, understand this: you haven't got a chance against someone who can focus. Two people are there in an interview. One guy has focused, worked every day for 10 hours, got great knowledge, experimented, learned. That versus you, that person is going to defeat you black and blue, because focus trains your mind. You train to distraction, that guy trained to focus. Mind is sharp, alert, dreams, and that is what the future majority is going to go into. So you need to be careful. You don't have a chance. Distracted people don't have a chance versus somebody who is focused. Okay, and many of the people, where he's talking to the current audience, many of the people are a little surprised when he talks about these concepts. Okay, because you have not thought about it, distraction versus focus and people comparison. Then you really thought how much time you spend during the day being distracted, and then that basically, okay, roughly around 80% of the time of lot of people is affected, and the rest of the time, by the end of the day, it's so much loss. You are tired to do anything worthwhile. Actually, practically, I have realized this. Every time I spend too much time on social media, many like 2024 Jan, I left it. Before that, whenever I was spending, mind was becoming tired by that radiation, rays, scrolling, and this was happening by the end of the day. You don't feel like doing anything meaningful. It's like, abhi chalo yaar, like, let's take a rest. Because now brain is tired by those rays, by just scrolling, and you just feel lost somewhere. And this is what this guy is trying to tell you. Okay, to do the really important things that have big potential, all job seekers, this statement applies. To do the really important things that have potential consequences, okay, you need to be focused for that. So you don't have time to do really important things. You're wasting entire day, by the end exhausted. This kind of life is not going anywhere. It will get into problems every single day. So I will share this. Basically, I just captured this video. Brian Tracy, I'm following it since long time. I've read like huge number of books from this guy, audios from this guy, really a lot of techniques about everything, right? He will give you a lot. You can find it. I kept this video as a reminder to me. From every few days, I just played 1 minute ka video, but it puts me into context. If I started wasting my time, this video simply guides me, and that is where I just kept it in the center. Today's plan was not there to discuss this, but since conversation came and what I am doing on a regular basis, I shared it to be focused, controlling what social media you consume, controlling what is your areas of success. You accordingly spend time there and protect yourself. Entertainment, go to that. So I watch things on Netflix and other things, movies, web series, but when it is required, then I go there. I'm not addicted towards those platforms, right? When required, then we go there. So this is what trying to make, sharing based upon practical examples so that it connects with you. Okay? Chalo guys, thank you everybody for your time. Let's take the attendance. We will resume in tomorrow's session with the next topic. But a sincere request is, think about how you are spending your time and change something in your life, improve something in your life today. Don't just let this last 10 minutes just go by. Don't remain the same person who you were before you came to the today's session. Change yourself, because it is possible to change. January 2024 mein I decided ki no more time wasting and reels, and it's been now October 2025. I have not spent my time there. So you need to protect yourself. So it's just a decision. Today your life can change, but you should be willing to do that. And again, think about it. Whatever I said, think about it. But that's the request to you. Okay, analyze and then make a decision. Okay, analyze and make a decision. It's your life, it's your choice anyways. but make good choices, right? Second chance on this planet nobody is getting. Even though you might have, second birth hoga, but will you remember this birth? No. So this is a one lifespan. It is one object created when you were born. One object is created. It will live through its lifespan and then disappear. Later, naya object, all the memory formatted, whatever your beliefs are. But this consciousness is one time or for this 100 years. Don't waste it. Use it properly. Chalo. Today's attendance code is 8484. Please mark this. And tomorrow we will continue with Spring related remaining topics and Spring Boot related features from some